Hey there, and welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast. I am your host, Denise Greer, Executive Editor here at Pizza Today. Along with me is Editor-in-Chief Jeremy White and Senior Creative Director Josh Keown. Hello, guys.
Hey
Hello.
guys.
So we are on here because we have to take a little bit of a break from the Pizza Expo episodes to commemorate the fact that this is our 200th episode. Can you believe it? 200
Mm.
episodes.
I cannot believe it. I mean, we started this, I think it was June 4th, 2020, and here we are, April 10th, 2024, still rolling.
And, I didn't know what our podcast was going to be at the beginning. Kind of like we knew what we were going to focus on, that we really want to focus on pizzeria operator stories, their
hmm
successes, their failures, their triumphs, just what's happening with them. And I think that we've really succeeded in that.
Yeah, I'm proud of us. We've done a good job in over 200 episodes. We've had I don't know the exact number of guests we have had, but we've had a broad array of guests. We've had a large number of guests, and we've run the gamut from, fast casual to really high end Detroit style to everything in between. We've gone through a pandemic. We've talked to operators about some real true fears that were brought up on by a pandemic. And we've seen highs and lows. We've interviewed pizzeria owners at Pizza Expo. We've talked
Uh-huh.
dough. We've talked employee management. We've covered everything you can cover, and it's been a real joy. I've had a lot of fun doing this, and I can't, I'm looking forward to doing 200 more.
Yeah, those first days, those first few months during the pandemic, there were a bunch of, I won't say dark conversations, but they were, we'd get off the
Serious.
phone call and just feel kind of down about everything, so
Yeah.
because that was what was going on. So as time has gone on and we've seen the shift from pandemic era to what we have now, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, can you
Those
guys remember really early on during the pandemic, and I can't recall if it was Nick Bogatz or Mike Bausch. I know it was one of those two, and we really were going over how you can get plexiglass and put it up between the booths
Mike,
to
yeah.
yeah.
to basically like a sneeze guard, I guess, to keep germs trapped in the booth so you could operate during COVID. It's just weird early going in the
Yeah,
podcast.
it was just everybody was throwing everything against the wall, seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Uh, and we got a little bit of all that on the show of
Yeah.
so many ideas.
As we've gone on, yeah, really, we talk to operators, especially the new operators that are a product of the pandemic, and here we are a product of the pandemic. This podcast, as we wanted to do it before the pandemic, but the reality is the pandemic set us into being able to really actually do this podcast. So we are also a product of the pandemic. But those early days, I can remember just how impressed I was by the operators we spoke with, because you could see it on their faces, trying to operate a business, keeping their employees safe, keeping themselves safe, keeping their customers safe. It was such a tumultuous time to try to operate a business, and the fact that we're on this other end and we're seeing the success that operators are having now, and it's night and day, the difference between when we started the pandemic to where we're at today in the podcast.
Well said. There's no question about it. And what else has changed, Denise, is the industry itself has changed
Hmm.
as well, not just the podcast. And we saw that change firsthand at Pizza Expo. And we're here to talk about the 200 episodes and look back a little bit, but Pizza Expo was our 40th anniversary. It was the largest show we've ever produced. The
Hmm.
hype was insane, and we saw innovation happening on the show floor before our eyes. This industry is rapidly changing, and it's going to change very quickly with some of the technology that is coming into play. And 10 years from now, the pizza industry is not going to be recognizable as compared to what it looked like, let's say, even 5 years ago.
And that,
Absolutely.
that goes a lot to, to the magazine. We fill it full of great content, but it's once a month. So this is another way for us to get out there and speak to the operators mainly, and then and have new content each week for everyone.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly. And when I talked to the operators at Pizza Expo, because we did almost 20 episodes from the show floor from Expo, and I asked them specifically about Pizza Expo and about the industry and what's happening and what they're looking for as the future holds. And man, technology is just it has sped
Yeah.
up so fast just in this last 3 to 4 years. It's insane how quickly we've moved forward and how quickly we're going to continue to move forward. So it's an exciting time to be in this industry.
It really is. And, not only is it an exciting time to be in this industry, but it's really an exciting time to be in the restaurant industry in general, because this technology we're talking about isn't going to impact only pizzerias. It's going to be it's going to be pan restaurants really, and it's going to be cool to see how things change over time. And what's going to be interesting is to see how certain segments of the restaurant industry adapt. As you know, there are segments that adapt quicker than others. And let's be honest, as the pizza industry is a very traditional industry, and therefore it is usually a little slower to adapt. So we're going to see that curve happen in other segments of the industry before the pizza industry fully adapts.
Absolutely. And I just did something on AI. And I know we haven't really talked about AI in the podcast very much, but it's quickly, the more that the general public and companies are feeding the AIs, the more they're going to adapt and change and improve. I think about that, and I actually wrote it in one of my articles about that. This reminds me of when search engines came about. You had to keep feeding it to get good information, but once it kicked off, then we really saw a rise in people using it. And now I don't know that we can think of a life without Google search or any kind of search engine, you know what I mean? So
I, I
AI is
personally think,
coming.
go ahead, Denise. I'm
No,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I personally think AI is going to be amazing for our smaller operators who
Yeah,
don't have a lot of time or budget for marketing, from Chat GPT to
Mhm.
any of the other the images, the marketing graphics. I mean, it's something that it they could streamline it a whole lot faster than normal, and I think it's going to be huge for them.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so.
makes
That's
sense.
maybe
I
that's
agree.
a so that's a dream guest. Maybe I want to talk AI on the podcast. So if you have put AI into your operation, hit me up, dgreer at pizzatoday.com, because I want to talk to you.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
I'm Genevieve Ruby, a fifth-generation dairy farmer here in Humboldt County, California. Did you know that 99% of California's dairy farms are family-owned? And we're proud to sustainably produce the milk that goes into quality cheeses you use to create your delicious pizzas. Thanks for helping make California not only America's #1 dairy state, but the leading producer of mozzarella too. We hope you enjoy this podcast.
So let's go back and let's talk about some of our favorite episodes. Of course, they're all my favorite. I love every operator that I've ever spoken with on this show, but there are some that kind of stand out just because it was such a pivotal point in their business. And for me, I think Maggie Mielis from DeFara. Her father had passed away, and she'd taken that torch. You have one of the biggest legendary pizzerias in the country, and seeing how that would move forward. That was and that was a one-on-one conversation I had with her. That was one of them that I think I'll always remember, just because it was just at such a pivotal moment in DeFara's history.
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna
really
go.
was. Josh and I both were fortunate enough to visit DeFara on a trip to Brooklyn, and when Dom was still actively making pizzas, and I'll never forget. The image is burned into my mind of Dom picking up the basil and picking up these old regular scissors like you would use to cut out a newspaper article, right, back in the day, and clipping that basil right over the
Yeah.
top of the pizza that he was getting ready to serve to Josh and I. And that's a moment that it's one of my highlights, because obviously he at the time was a living legend, and while he's no longer with us, he was one of the titans of the New York pizza scene, a true legend. And that's not a word we would just throw around casually. And Josh and I were fortunate enough to watch him make and serve a pizza for us. And that was a really cool moment. And so yes, when his daughter came on to the podcast, that was a highlight as well for me, Denise.
Yeah, and that was my first trip to Brooklyn. That was the first pizzeria I went to in Brooklyn. So it
Oh
was like,
wow.
we're starting off with the DeFar. I mean, where do you go from there? So yeah, and you're right, Jeremy. When people were bringing in basil for him their own basil for them to cut it on their pizza, and yeah, it was just packed in there. The atmosphere was amazing. So yeah, that's something I'll never forget for sure.
Likewise. One of my favorites that I think of early, it was really early on, was Polly G. We got Polly G to come on, sit down, and really tell his story about which we've heard, because he told it in a keynote address at Pizza and Pasta Northeast a couple of years ago. But he basically, look, I got tired of the corporate world. I was done with it, and I decided to open a pizzeria. And so that's what I did. And well, it just so happened that he ended up opening up one of the most revered pizzerias in the toughest city in America to thrive and make a name for yourself in pizza. So that was really cool to hear him tell that story early on in our early days of the podcast.
And one of my earlier favorites was Ollie Haider.
Yeah, Ollie.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Like
gosh,
he
such a
brought like
positive
such a
dude.
such a I mean, at that time, it was in October 2020. So, at that time is when I personally really needed it, and I'm sure our listeners did too. He just brought the most positive energy to the podcast, and it was just a breath of fresh air. And I'm eternally grateful for being on that podcast and interviewing Ollie there.
Absolutely. Another one that I really remember is because Josh, you and I did this. We went when Tony's Pizza Napolitana was named Pizzeria of the Year in
Yeah.
2022. And we interviewed Tony about that, you know, because everybody thinks of Tony as he's just the guy in the industry. And so they don't really remember that he started modestly, like everyone in the industry started out small, and to
Mhm.
really dive into his stories. That was a really special one for me as well.
Yeah, and anytime Tony comes on, there's going to be some value, some real value to the listeners. Is he's always going to divulge something that's going to help your business. So it's always a highlight with Tony. I was looking through, Denise, two things. Number one, you've had a vast array of hairstyles over our 200 episodes. I've noticed in the photos.
I have not. I'm
Josh hasn't changed. His looks the same now as it looked on episode 1, but you've had a lot of different styles. Kudos for that. It's always
Your
good to shake
facial
it up.
hair has changed a lot.
That's
Now, the
changed a little
people
bit.
okay, so a lot of people are just listening to our podcast, guys. So they
Oh,
do
okay.
not know what really we look like unless they actually go on the YouTube, or the website. And
Look, they're doing
do
it
it.
wrong,
But
because us three do not have faces for radio. We are beautiful people, and they should be looking at us.
yes.
But having said that, though, one thing I was scrolling through, and we had this super sweet podcast room set up in Las Vegas at Pizza Expo one year. We're in a new
Yeah.
hall now. The hall is far superior. I'm glad we're there. I love it, but it doesn't have that little room that we were able to set up for the podcast. And we had some really cool. We were overlooking the show floor. We were able to grab operators off the show floor, take them up to that room, sit down. And those podcasts were really, really fun to do.
Absolutely.
Another kind of earlier one that was just totally inspirational for me was Joe Figuera from Tutabella
Yeah.
in Seattle. You know, because being in a Neapolitan spot, he had to rethink a lot of things during the pandemic. And what is happening now with his pizzeria and how it's grown and it's branched out into grocery stores and everything else. What he's doing right now is absolutely amazing. And we were talking to him just as that was beginning. So it's really cool to see what's become of it.
Yeah, I loved my episode with Sarah Minnick, and the whole reason
Yes.
why I love this episode, so she's the brains, the everything behind Lovely's 50/50 there
Yeah.
in Portland, Oregon. But I had put her on this wish list of people that I personally wanted to talk to in the industry. So being able to make that happen and talk to her, you know, she had been on a feature on the Netflix special, you know, Chef's Table. So seeing that approach that she took to her business and being able to get her on the podcast to talk about everything, that was a great one for me because you know, I always keep this wish list of guests, and I still have that, by the way. So if you want to be on the podcast, hit me up because I'm still looking for people to fill those wish list spots.
I loved
But she
that
was
one too,
awesome.
Denise. Yeah, and you and I visited her pizzeria in December.
Yeah, we
And
snuck away to
yeah,
get to it.
and that was really cool because I had never been there, and neither had you, I don't believe, correct?
Mhm.
And
Oh gosh, it was amazing.
it was a great experience. And she works with seasonal ingredients. She works with the wildflowers and all kinds of she does really cool things with her
Mhm.
pizza. And I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to sit down and in her restaurant and eat. That was great.
One of my favorite guests, who we've had on a couple times. You never know where this conversation is going to go. It gets a bit wild every time, and
I know where you're going.
we do have to edit a few things out here and there. But Mr. John Gudikants is
Oh
always
my gosh. It was awesome.
entertaining fellow we have on this podcast, and there's never a dull second when John is on the podcast.
I would agree because John brings so much energy and creativity to talking about pizza. Like he thinks about it unlike anyone else. And so to hear his perspective on pizza, which is why, you know, why we put him in the magazine too, is because he just brings a new approach. So he's always bringing new ideas to people.
And you probably, you know, if you've been to the International Pizza Challenge, you know firsthand how entertaining John is, as he is our MC for the full event. He does just a terrific job. I mean, we don't give him enough credit for that's a big time job. Jeremy and I tried doing it one year and failed miserably. So it's a crazy job to do, and to keep people entertained that long, with so much madness going around. Hats off to him.
Yeah,
Kudos.
it really is a hard job. And it's one thing to fill 15 to 30 minutes. He's filling the entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a huge job. Hey, another one that popped into my mind, Denise. You and I sit down with it's called the Cross-Eyed Cow Pizza.
I love
It's
them. They
in
were so
California on Route
amazing.
66, mother and daughter team, Donna and Weather. Great mother and daughter team, a really funky, unique pizzeria, probably one of the most unique pizzerias that we've had on the podcast. And that was fun to talk to them.
Absolutely. And you know, one that I remember that we were just like jaws to the floor was when we talked to Lee Kendall from
Yeah.
Moto in
Yeah.
Seattle, Washington, and he was telling us how he set his business up basically to have a 3-month wait on pizza, that everything is through a pizza pre-order system, and there's a 3-month wait on his pizza. And we were just like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. So that was
Yeah.
definitely a movement where you actually see the movement happening. And since then, we've noticed a lot of other people that have opened up like that have hit just the the high threshold so that they're having to pre-order pizzas to get them. So that was kind of a fun one for me, you know.
And if you're, if you're new to the podcast or whatnot, and you're looking for some episodes to go back on, one that stands out to me is Pizza Man Dan Collier. When we get Dan in here, he is always dropping great nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
As far as marketing and everything goes, so that's a good one to listen to if you're just getting started.
Dan always has the best hair and the best outfit on the Pizza Expo
Of
show
course,
floor as well. So
if you've been to Pizza Expo, you know Dan, that's for sure.
you know Dan, you've seen the car, you've seen the shoes, you've seen the jumper. I mean, and hey, you know what else I love, guys? I love when we do it maybe once, 2, 3 times a year, when we pull out the mailbag and we go through letters and emails that we get from readers and address some of the questions that they ask us. That's always, for me, that's always enjoyable as well.
Yeah, and I love any of the episodes where we're talking about pizza dough, and
Mhm.
I can think of a couple different episodes where we really got into the dough discussion because dough is just it's so hard to nail down the right dough, and so when we talk about dough, it's a lot of fun. I can think about like Chris Decker; he just brings it when he talks dough, and hats off to his new pizzeria, Truly. They won best pizza category at International Pizza Challenge, so that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Chris Decker is for now the secret's out now. It's no longer a secret anymore, but for
No.
many years, Chris Decker was the best pizza maker in America that no one had heard of, right? I
Hmm.
mean, people had heard of Tony G and people had heard of John Arena and people obviously Chris Bianco, but Chris quietly labored away as John's right-hand man and people did not know about Chris because John kept him hidden. No, John sang his praises all day, every day to anyone who would listen, right? But he was like the best kept secret in America, and he deserves all the love he's getting now. He is a truly great pizza maker. Every month he contributes a recipe to Pizza Today, and it's always mouth-watering. Every time we look at the recipe, we're like, oh wow, how did he pull this off? It's just so he's always fun to talk to, very intelligent, always full of great ideas, in particular when it comes to menu development. So yeah, we've had Chris on probably 2 or 3 times, but
Hmm.
not a bad idea to have him on again soon to talk about Truly Pizza.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that would be amazing. That I have so many wish list guests right now. Let's reach out to us. Let us know that you need to share your story and is there a story we're not getting from the industry? Do you have a unique story that we haven't been able to tell yet? That was what we're looking for too. Some of the podcasts that we were talking about, I'm going to put links to those in the show notes so you can
Good
go back
idea.
and revisit those specific episodes. But we also encourage binge listening. So if you wanted to just hop on and just, grab some different episodes or start at the beginning and work your way forward, we're all about binge episodes because I do it myself on anything I enjoy. I binge listen to it. So.
And if you haven't subscribed on YouTube yet, please subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be
And
sure to give us
pizzatoday.com.
Yep.
be sure to leave us a good comment, maybe 5 stars, if we deserve it. I think we do, but leave us 5 stars and because we want to get out there to more people. We want to get out there to
Yeah.
more pizzeria operators, and that allows us to do that.
Absolutely. And keep sharing episodes. If you enjoy an episode, share it with your friends in the pizza community. And hopefully we can continue. Let us know if there's a subject you want to hear. Like if there's a subject you're looking for us, because we've done a little bit of that. We've taken a look at subject matter and got an expert on that subject matter who is also in the industry to talk about that. And that's been really fun.
It
Yeah,
really has.
I agree.
Again, 200 more episodes. I'm down for it. This has all been fun, and let's keep the train rolling.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Denise, on that. I love exploring a specific topic, and I think that's a good way for us to maybe going in the future as well.
Yeah, I think so too. So if you have any ideas, any suggestions, we're always open to it. And it takes you our podcast is about pizzeria operators and the business. It's not about us and what we're doing. It's about what y'all are doing.
Well said, Denise.
Well, I think let's wrap this one up, and so next week we're gonna continue on with the Pizza Expo episodes, because they told some really great stories at the show, and I am so excited for you to continue listening. If you haven't heard it, we've already posted 2 episodes from the show floor. So if you go back to pizzatoday.com, in the podcast, you'll see those 2 episodes. But we're going to continue those. And then I've already got guests lined up for after those episodes start. Or after those episodes stop. So we're just going to keep rolling with some more great content on the podcast.
All right, guys. I guess I'll see you around all those together at episode 300. Let's just do it.
I hope we'll be on before then, because we need some more mailbags. So if you've got something to talk about with us, hit us up, because we want more mailbag content.
Yeah, we'll do that soon. That's
you don't have to write a letter.
No.
Mail it. You can DM us. You could any way you want to get to us on socials or email, please do. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's call this one a day, and we'll wish you a happy Thursday, because that's the day that these episodes always post. So
happy 200, everyone.
Happy 200. Thanks, y'all.
See you guys.